Quality Division of the TCEQ. My name is Greg Easley. I'll be moderating the meeting this afternoon, and I manage the Water Quality Assessment section in the Water Quality Division. And I've got several folks here from the division to help with giving y'all updates today at the meeting. Thanks everyone for being flexible, starting a little later than we normally do in the afternoon. Had a few logistics to work around, but appreciate you joining us. And like I said, we do have several updates to provide for you, which we'll get into here in just a little bit. For those who are participating online or virtually, you don't need to have your cameras on, number one. And number two, obviously, if you could mute your microphones, we would greatly appreciate that. The way this will work is we will go through each topic on the agenda for today's meeting. After we finish a topic, we will pause for questions that anyone might have here in the room or online. For those of you participating virtually, you can type in questions in the chat portion of the Teams window, and we will respond to those as they come in. And then once we get through all the, like I said, we'll pause after each topic for questions. If you don't think of something till later, that's okay. We'll have another final question and answer segment of the meeting near the end to catch anything that you may have thought of after the fact. So with that, I'm going to just quickly go around the table here, have each of the speakers introduce themselves real quick, and then we will get started with the meeting. So let's start down on the left here.
Hopefully y'all can hear me from all the way down here. I'm Nicole Gray. I'm in the industrial wastewater permitting team, and I'll be talking on oil and gas general permits.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jesse Guerrez-Salamia. I'm a permit writer in the stormwater permitting team.
Good afternoon. My name is Hannah Kobos, and I'm also a permit writer on the stormwater team.
Good afternoon. I'm Shannon Gibson, technical specialist with the Water Quality Division.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Benitez, technical specialist with the Water Quality Division.
Good afternoon. I'm Brian Sarant, the team leader of the land application team.
All right. Thanks, everyone. So we'll go ahead and get started. We've got different types of updates to provide, but first off, we'll have some program-specific updates that I'd like to give, and we'll start out with Dr. Gray.
All right. So first, some basic background information. Thank you. TCEQ was transferred permitting authority for discharges into surface water in the state for oil and gas extraction facilities and gas plants by House Bill 2771 during the 2018 legislative session. TCEQ obtained TIPD's authorization from EPA on January 2021 via a revised memorandum of agreement. Initially, TCEQ did not obtain authority for land application or reuse under House Bill 277. Present, these remain under the Texas Railroad Commission. However, House Bill 2584 and Senate Bill 1145 will transfer jurisdiction of land application of produced wastewater to TCEQ. House Bill 2584 hasn't been voted on yet in the House, whereas Senate Bill 1145 has been voted out of the Senate and is now over in the House. TCEQ is following the progress of these bills closely. So, directly in response to House Bill 2771, the general permit for hydrostatic discharges, TXG 670,000, was amended and reissued to include crude oil and natural gas hydrostatic discharges. TCEQ developed 2 general permits for oil and gas extraction facilities discharges into surface waters of the state. That's TXG 310,000 under the TIPDES program and WQG 280,000 under state-only authority. TXG 31 replaces EPA's general permits, TXG 26 and TXG 33, and individual Railroad Commission authorizations. TCEQ also developed an administrative report specific to oil and gas dischargers and added a section for oil and gas dischargers to the Industrial Wastewater Technical Report. So implementation activities for TXG 31 for onshore stripper well facilities, coastal facilities, and territorial sea facilities within 3 miles of the Texas coastline. Again, it combines and replaces the EPA permit, general permits TXG 26 and TXG 33, both of which were administratively continued. TCEQ shared the draft GP with stakeholders for review and comment, and TCEQ reviewed all comments received. And we submitted the draft GP to EPA Region 6 for 90-day review on August 2nd, 2022. EPA completed its review on November 14th, 2022, and received no objections. EPA approved TCEQ for issuance of the GP. Statewide public notice in the Texas Register and statewide circulation in newspapers occurred on May 12, 2023, with a formal 30-day comment period. The public comment period ended on June 12, 2023, and development of the associated notice of intent, notice of change, and notice of termination forms was completed thereafter. The Commission officially adopted and issued the permit on January 10th, 2024. For WQG 28, for outer continental shelf facilities between 3 to 10.2 miles off the Texas coastline, TCEQ authorized was drafted in development in coordination with EPA's Region 6 renewal of their equivalent permit, GMG 29. And it was released for stakeholder input on December 2022. The informal comment period ended on January 18th, 2023. The development of the associated notice of intent, notice of change, and notice of termination forms was completed thereafter, and the Commission adopted and issued the permit on January 10th, 2024. So currently the oil and gas authorizations issued or pending include 78 general permits for hydrostatic test dischargers, TXG 67, 22 general permits for oil and gas extraction discharges, TXG 31, 6 general permits for oil and gas in the outer continental shelf discharges, WQG 28, and 9 individual oil and gas TIPDES permits. Currently, there are 10 pending individual oil and gas TIPDES permit applications. And that's it for me. Any questions?
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Gray. Any questions on this topic or these topics? As I mentioned earlier, if you're participating online and have questions about anything that we're talking about here, please type those into the chat, and we will get to those as we receive them. So, not seeing or hearing of any questions. Sure, don't forget the people behind me. We'll move on to the next program update with Maria.
Good afternoon. In regards to Homeland Security and emergency preparedness, and as we're approaching the hurricane season this year, the Water Quality Division's Emergency Preparedness Technical Team is counting continuously on your assistance to ensure that we're prepared for the season. Currently, we have seen 78% of domestic facility updates submitted to their WQEPS, and 95% of the industrial facilities have submitted their updates as well. So thank you all so much on that. We recently also sent out reminder notices with an extended due date of April 25, 2025, which is next week, to facilities who have not yet submitted their WQEPS. So if you have any questions, or you're stuck on something, please make sure to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist you with getting that completed. These notices contain the information necessary to create and fill out your WQEPS Homeland Security annual updates in STEERS. Just kind of some tips. When updating your records, just please double check that you're updating, reviewing any emergency contacts and any contact information in general, and also ensure that you're providing appropriate and accurate front gate lat long coordinates. Also know that you can always come back throughout the year if anything changes in regards to contact information, facility information, collection systems. You can always update that information in STEERS to your WQEPS. It doesn't matter if you've submitted one recently. If you need to submit one in the following month afterward, please do so. We're always continuously reviewing that data. So just ensure that it's always up to date. Another thing that we wanted to bring up is that every year we do receive return mail. So again, that's just to kind of also remind, always ensure to double check your contact information, who you're listing, what addresses you're listing on that update. That's all for me.
Thank you, Maria. Any questions on that topic? Okay. Seeing none, we'll now shift over to our general permit updates, and starting with Jesse on the quarries general permit.
Good afternoon again, everybody. So for the first general permit, the quarries in certain water quality protection areas, general permit TXG 500,000 2025 renewal with amendment, formerly known as the John Graves Scenic Riverway quarries general permit. In early 2023, TCEQ started the renewal process for the general permit TXG 500,000. For now, I'll refer to it as TXG 5, previously known as a John Graves Quarry general permit. The renewed 2025 general permit was presented and adopted in the Commissioner's agenda on January 16, 2025, and was issued with an effective date of January 23, 2025. Existing permittees are on the administrative continuance, have 90 days from the effective date of the general permit to submit their application for permit renewal. That deadline is currently set at April 23rd, 2025. The renewed 2025 general permit regulates stormwater and wastewater discharges from quarries in the John Graves Scenic Riverway and now also the Coke Stevenson Scenic Riverway. The general permit implements House Bill 1688 from the 88th regular legislative session, which amended Texas Water Code Chapter 26, Subchapter M in relation to water quality protection areas by expanding the pilot program that was originally established for the John Graves Scenic Riverway to now include the new Coke Stevenson Scenic Riverway. The Coke Stevenson Scenic Riverway is defined in the bill as the South Llano River in Kimball County, located upstream of the river's confluence with the North Llano River at the city of Junction. The major changes to this general permit include renaming the general permit to the quarries in certain water quality protection areas general permit, adding the definition for Coke Stevenson Scenic Riverway, and modify the existing definition of water quality protection areas to encompass the new water quality protection areas of the Coke Stevenson Scenic Riverway. Modifying permit applicability language to encompass quarries within the new water quality protection areas of the Coke-Stevenson Scenic Riverway and expand permitting and financial assurance requirements to those quarries. It also includes the modifying permit expiration language to explain since the pilot program is extended 2 years, it now expires on September 1st of 2027. And that's all the updates I have.
All right, thank you, Jesse. Any questions for him? Okay, we can move on to the next update. Well, updates on the MSGP, or multi-sector general permit, and I'll start with Hannah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll be talking about the multi-sector general permit, or the MSGP TXRO 50,000, and the 2025 amendment, which is different than the renewal that Jesse will be talking about. This general permit regulates stormwater discharges from industrial activities and is set to expire on August 14th, 2026. This amendment without renewal to the permit will address the two following items. Firstly, to implement House Bill 2771, which is from the 86th regular legislative session, which was made effective on January 15th of 2021, to expand the applicability for non-exempt oil and gas activities. The current general permit excludes stormwater runoff from industrial activities that are associated with the exploration, the development, or the production of oil or gas or geothermal resources, including the transportation of crude oil or natural gas by pipeline. This revision is in response to the transfer of state and federal regulatory authority to TCEQ for these discharges. And it is also to implement House Bill 1688 from the 88th regular legislative session, which was made effective on September 1st of 2023, to prohibit quarries that are located within water quality protection areas from obtaining stormwater coverage under this general. So the purpose of this amendment is to prohibit quarries that are located within the new Coke-Stevenson Scenic Riverway from obtaining coverage under the MSGP, and also to include in the general permit applicable non-exempt stormwater discharges from industrial activities that are associated with certain oil and gas activities, and also to replace the EPA-issued NIPD's MSGP, which was made effective on September 29th of 2021 and will expire on February 28th of 2026. Operators that have current active authorizations under this existing general permit will not be required to submit new or renewal NOIs and are authorized to continue to discharge under the terms and conditions of the existing general permit. We sent the draft general permit documents to EPA for their review on April 22nd of 2024 and received their approval on June 23rd of 2024. No comments were received, and we published the public notice in the Texas Register and the Houston Chronicle this past October 11th for the 30-day public comment period that ended on November 11th of 2024. No comments were received. Therefore, we are scheduled to take the amended general permit to Commissioner's agenda on May 1st of 2025 for approval. And that includes the updates for me, unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Hannah. Any questions so far? All right, not seeing any. We'll go back to Jesse.
Hello, everyone again. So I'll be covering the multi-sector general permit TXG, TXR, MSGP, TXR 50,000. Again, this is separate from the amendment that Hannah was talking about. I'll be talking about the 2026 renewal. So this general permit regulates stormwater discharges from industrial activities and expires in August 14 of 2026. TCEQ has initiated the 2026 renewal of the general permit and is currently in the concept or the developmental phase of the general permit renewal process. TCEQ held a stakeholder meeting to discuss comments on the upcoming renewal on November 6th of 2024 and received comments from 8 different stakeholders until November 20th, 2024. TCEQ is scheduled to send their draft general permit for EPA review in early May of 2025. This will be the 90-day EPA permit renewal. Major proposed changes include we moved the tables listing the regulated SIC codes and the North American Industrial Classification System, SIC code standard industrial classification codes, from Part 2 of the 2021 MSGP to Appendix A. This name change will allow the reader to access the permit requirements immediately instead of scrolling through over 70 pages of tables. We added the definition of high-level radioactive waste in Part 1. We added Part 2B17 to include the provision to prohibit authorizations of discharges associated with the operation of a facility that is licensed for the storage of high-level radioactive waste by the United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission, USNRC, under 10 CFR Part 72, based on Texas Health Code 401.0525, and added the language in Part 2E, subsection 8H, item H, to require that the NOI include confirmation that the facility is not licensed for storage of high-level radioactive waste by the USNRC. We removed SIC code 1231 for anthracite mining from Sector H and the SIC NAICS codes tables because it is not applicable in the state of Texas. The Occupational Health and Safety Administration, OSHA SIC manual description of this SIC code only includes facilities located in Pennsylvania. We revised Part 2, subsection C3, item A, application deadlines to include an authorization renewal period. We clarified Part 2, subsection D, item 9, that applications must be submitted to any municipal separate storm sewer systems, MS4s receiving discharges, whether they are a regulated MS4 or not. We added Part 2, Section A, the option of preparing and maintaining an electronic SWP3 or SWIP, or also known as Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, for consistency with the Construction General Permit TXR 150,000. We added Part 2, Section D, subsection 2, item B, that substantially similar outfalls may not be established for water quality monitoring requirements. Part of Part 2, let me rephrase that, of Part 3B4. We changed 6 benchmark level values based on data collected and analyzed during the current permit term, and they will be as follows. For Sector C, we lowered phosphorus from 1.25 milligrams per liter to 0.78 milligrams per liter. For sectors K and S, we lowered ammonia and nitrogen from 1.7 milligrams per liter to 1.0 milligram per liter. For sectors C, E through H, L, M through O, Q, and sectors AA, we lowered iron from 1.3 milligrams per liter to 1.0 milligrams per liter. For sector K, we lowered cyanide from 0.02 milligrams per liter to 0.01 milligrams per liter. Sector C, G, J, U, and sector AA lowered nitrite nitrogen from 0.68 milligrams per liter to 0.60 milligrams per liter. And finally, for sectors A, C, F, H, N, Q, Y, and sector AA, we lowered zinc from 0.16 milligrams per liter to 0.12 milligrams per liter. Please note that this renewal is to address the expiration of the general permit and is separate from the amendment to the general permit that is in progress, as mentioned earlier by Hannah. The general permit is tentatively scheduled for public comment in December 2025. And that is all the updates that I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jesse. Any questions on the MSGP? Got a question here. Meg.
Hi, how are you? It's a general permit. I understand the public comment period has been extended in May. Is that going to have any impact you anticipate on the timeline for TCEQ's general?
That's a great question. At the moment, we haven't anticipated any kind of interference or that affecting the Texas MSGP. But we will keep our eyes open.
Any other questions? And I guess, Jesse, you wouldn't mind repeating what the question was for the sake of those on.
The question was that EPA at the moment has extended the public comment period on their draft MSGP, which they released sometime in December. The question was whether or not that was going to affect our timeline. At the moment, we haven't anticipated that affecting our timeline, but we will keep an open mind for that. That's all.
And I guess there was another question about asking if you could repeat what was said about an online requirement for the SW3.
Absolutely. So for the SWIP or the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan that's required of the general permit, we will now be making an option to keep that document electronically to be consistent with the CGP.
Great. Thanks, Jesse. And one more here, at least for one of you. Is there facility signage or is there a facility signage requirement for MSGP like for EPA's MSGP?
That's a good question. At the moment, I don't have the details with me, but yeah, I'll have to get back to it. For specific questions or any questions that we might not get to, or for whatever reason, if you come up with more, we do welcome that you email our proxy box. That's swgp@tcq.texas.gov. And that's handled by myself and Hannah, as well as another permit writer. So if you come up with anything later on, or we need to follow up with you, please send us an email. We'll get back to you as quickly as we can.
Great. Any other questions? All right. Well, we have a few more general permit updates, and Shannon's going to present it for us.
Thanks, Greg. Good afternoon, everyone. Got several more general permits to update. I'll try to get through those pretty quickly. TCEQ is proposing to renew and amend the aquacultural general permit, the TXG 130000, which authorizes discharges from an aquaculture facility or a related aquaculture activity. This renewal will replace the current permit when it expires on April 18th, 2026. The draft general permit was sent to the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department for their 45-day review on January 6th, 2025, and to the United States Environmental Protection Agency for review on March 19th, 2025. A no objection letter was, we're still waiting on the conclusion of the EPA review, but we do anticipate taking it to public notice in September of 2025. The major changes to this general permit include exclusion of level 5 facilities or oyster mariculture facilities from the prohibition from cleaning system components in or over water in the state, revision of the definition of wastewater to include water from the washdown, cleaning, and flushing of sorters and tumblers, which are types of processing equipment now commonly used in oyster mariculture, and clarifying that submerged cage systems are included in the allowable systems that may be used in oyster mariculture. Our next general permit to update will be the hydrostatic test water general permit, or the TXG 670000. TCEQ recently renewed and updated this general permit. It authorizes the discharge of hydrostatic test water from new vessels which contained raw water, potable water, or elemental gases, or vessels which contain petroleum substances or waste related to petroleum substances. The renewal replaced the current permit when it expired on April 5th, 2025, earlier this month. And existing permittees will have 90 days to submit a new notice of intent under the reissued general permit through TCEQ's online e-permitting system known as STEERS. Our next general permit to update is the evaporation pond general permit, the WQG 100000. TCEQ is proposing to renew and amend this general permit, which authorizes disposal of wastewater from industrial or wastewater treatment facilities by evaporation adjacent to water in the state. The renewal will replace the current permit when it expires on September 15th, 2025. This is a state-only permit and does not require EPA review. TCEQ published notice in the Texas Register and Houston Chronicle on February 7th, 2025, and held a public meeting on March 10th, 2025. No public comments were received. Major changes to this general permit include updates to the liner requirements for ponds constructed on or after the reissued general permit date. These amendments will not impact existing permittees. My final general permit to update is the water treatment plant general permit, the TXG 640000. TCEQ is proposing to renew and update this general permit, which authorizes the discharge of wastewater generated as a result of conventional water treatment at water treatment facilities. The renewal will replace the current permit when it expires on October 12th, 2025. EPA reviewed and approved the general permit on December 19th, 2024. TCEQ published notice in the Texas Register and Houston Chronicle on March 7th, 2025, and held a public meeting on April 7th, 2025. Public comments were received, and a response to public comments document is currently under development. The major change to the draft permit is the addition of a requirement for discharges to be dechlorinated to less than 0.1 milligrams per liter total chlorine residual prior to discharge when using chlorination for disinfection purposes. That's it for me, Greg. Thanks.
Thank you again. Any questions on any of those general permits? Let's see, I have one question online. For the evaporation pond, what is the revision to liner requirements?
Those are detailed in the general permit. They're pretty specific. I've got them line item and track changes. I could send those to you after the advisory work group meeting, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think we can do that. Let's get that to James. Thanks for your question. Any others for Shannon? Okay. We move on to our last segments of the meeting, which is updates on our rulemaking efforts. And we'll start off with Brian.
Yeah, good afternoon. I want to give one last update on the dairy waste rules, which include both proposals and amendments to Chapter 321 relating to concentrated animal feeding operations. As a background, this rule implements changes to Texas Water Code and the Health and Safety Code made by House Bill 692 from the 88th regular legislative session, and will amend 30 TAC Chapter 321 Subchapter B by adding new sections 321.48 and 321.49, which would allow a concentrated animal feeding operation and an unpermitted animal feeding operations to directly land apply dairy waste under emergency conditions to land application areas and dispose of dairy waste in a retention control structure and irrigate land application areas with dairy waste from the retention control structure. The rulemaking also adds new subchapter Q titled Land Application of Dairy Waste Authority, which would allow entities to land apply dairy waste under emergency conditions on agricultural land that is not associated with an animal feeding operation or any other TCEQ authorization. In addition, 30 TAC Chapter 335 under solid waste rules are being amended, specifically 335.2 and 335.6 to exempt these activities from permitting and notification requirements under Chapter 335. And for some recent updates on this, we conducted a public hearing on the rules on March 31st, which was also the end of the public comment period. We did not receive any comments at the hearing or during the comment period. And the next step is that we plan to propose the adoption of the rules at commission agenda on July 9th. I believe that agenda has been changed from July 2nd to July 9th. So, and that's all I have on that.
All right, thank you, Brian. Any questions on the dairy waste rules? All right, seeing and hearing none, we've got one last rulemaking update from.
Thanks. My update is going to be on SB 1289 implementation. On February 13th, 2025, the commission adopted the rulemaking to implement changes to the Texas Water Code made by Senate Bill 1289 from the 88th regular legislative session. The adopted rules amended 30 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 321, Subchapter P, to allow for the alternative means of disposing unused domestic reclaimed water through the collection system of an associated wastewater treatment facility without requiring a permit. In order to do this, the owners of the reclaimed water production facility must obtain consent from the owners and operators of the associated wastewater treatment facility and collection system. The adopted rules also amended 30 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 210, Subchapter A, to clarify the regulatory citations associated with the general provisions for the use of reclaimed water. Again, those rules were adopted and should now be in effect.
All right, thank you, Shannon. Any questions on that particular rulemaking? Okay, not seeing or hearing any, but we're now to our final question and answer portion of the meeting. So last call for any other questions that anyone may have thought of since we've started the meeting. Again, please type any you have into the chat if you're participating online. Do have one question for Shannon to please restate what is changing in 210. So I'm assuming the.
Sure, and I just said that we were clarifying regulatory citations associated with the general provisions for the use of reclaimed water. But I could, when I email you later, James, I can also include the documentation on exactly what changed under chapter 210.
Good deal. Thanks, Shannon. Any other questions? Okay. I'm not seeing any others at the moment, so I'll just give you a couple announcements before adjourning the meeting. So as far as what happens post-meeting, we'll put together a summary of today's meeting and provide that on our Water Quality Advisory Work Group webpage, as well as a link to a recording of the meeting. We'll put that out there as well. So if you need to go back and review anything, you can certainly do that. And then the final announcement is that we'll be having our next quarterly meeting on July 15th. And the time, it'll be in the same room, but the time will either be 1:30 or 2:30. We'll try to start it at 1:30 as per our usual pattern, but again, we may not be able to get the room until 2:30, but we'll certainly let you know in advance what time the July 15th meeting will start as we get closer to that date. So hope to see you at that meeting. Let me give one last glance at the chat. There is a question. Can we get a general update on the phase 2 MS4 applications? When can we expect communication on the review process? And we'll see if we have, I don't know if Jesse or Hannah, you know, if not, we may just have to get back to.
Oh, we're still working internally on our review of the applications. We do have a big universe that we're getting through, but we are making progress on those. I just don't have an update on specific MS4s.
Right. Thank you, Hannah. Okay. And I don't see any other questions, so we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everyone, for participating and being with us this afternoon. Look forward to seeing you next time, and hope everyone has a good rest of your afternoon. Thank you, and see you next time.